kissing Vince was interesting because Linda was standing right there,
Oh gosh.
kind of helping like navigate it all. So I don't know if that made me feel better or more weird.
Let's go to our first guest of the day. And if you've been watching the show for quite some time, you know that I have said time and again on my bucket list, there aren't that many names left. And I don't necessarily love the word bucket list, but it's the best way to describe it, on the wish list, if you will, of people who are left in the world of MMA, boxing, pro wrestling. There aren't that many names left, and we're very grateful and appreciative for this. I would always say, I would love to have this guest on. And part of the reason why I would love to have this guest on is because I believe that she has a great backstory. She's very open and honest, and there's a lot of great stories to be told and lessons to be learned from the things that she has experienced. Back in the early 2000s, let's be honest, if you were a pro wrestling fan, you were either a Sable guy, you were either a Trish Stratus guy, you were a Lita guy, you were a Stacy Keibler guy, or you were a Torrie Wilson guy. Now, you could have been a fan of all of them, which you probably were if you were a wrestling fan back there, but you had, your top. You were in one camp or the other. I was an unabashed Torrie Wilson guy. She was my favorite, and that's why I always wanted to talk to her. And you remember, I was with Maven here in studio a couple of weeks ago, and I told him about the time that I saw him at the WrestleMania 18 fan access and took that picture with him. I was also waiting in line to meet some of the other guys, and I waited in the Torrie Wilson line for a while, and then it got cut off and the time expired, and thus my big break was not to be. It did not materialize. And so without further ado, some 23 years later, we say hello to the one and only, the WWE Hall of Famer, the inimitable Torrie Wilson. There she is. Hello, Torrie. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so great to have you on the show. This is very, very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to be with you. And it's an honor to have been a Torrie Wilson.
Yes, you are a Torrie Wilson, and I was a Torrie Wilson guy.
Person.
Yes, exactly. I knew what you were trying to say. Great setup, by the way. Are you in your actual gym here, or is this a fake background?
Yes, we're having our air conditioning units replaced today, so this is the only quiet place in the house.
Okay, well, this is kind of fitting for your personality.
In the garage.
That's a great garage. Shout out to you. It's a great looking space, but we know how into all of this stuff you are, the fitness world. How are you doing, Torrie? How is everything? How is life? How would you describe life at this stage?
Man, it just keeps getting better and better for me. I feel like just this year, well, the past few years, I've kind of stepped into my confidence more. I just feel more at ease with life. I'm not trying to compete with the rat race, and I'm just trying to enjoy who I am and the people around me.
How did that happen? You say that, but how does that actually happen?
Well, it happens with a lot of hard inner work and past turmoil that I obviously got through. I am a big proponent on the crap that we go through really helps us get stronger and become happier in the end if we listen and pay attention and learn and find the nuggets from it that we're supposed to get, the wisdom. And I have made some good choices. I made a good choice with the love of my life that I've married 6 years ago. And, I've kind of set myself up to be in a good spot.
Congratulations on that. That's amazing to hear.
Thank you.
And the reason why I appreciate you bringing that up is because I feel like you're one of those people, you're a public person, but you're not afraid to talk about the high moments and especially the low moments and be open about some of your struggles and whatnot. That in itself takes some courage. And I don't think that you were always willing to do that. How come you feel the need to do that? Or maybe I should say the comfort in doing that, because I do see you doing that a lot, and it makes, I think, others feel better. Not that you're going through some tough stuff, but that it's okay to go through tough things and come out better.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it can be scary to put yourself out there and just speak your truth, but I know there are a lot of people in this world and that have, that feel like they're alone in what they're going through. And it's so easy to pop onto social media and think that everybody's got their crap put together and they have a perfect life. And I think it's frustrating to see that. Like, even for me, when I see perfectness all the time, you can't help but start to question where you are in life. So, really that's the answer. And I've always been an honest, open person. I am maybe to a fault, a little bit like an open book, but I also, on the other side of that, I like being around open, honest people.
One thing that I've noticed as of late, correct me if I'm wrong, is that when you left WWE in around 2008 or so, you kind of just like faded into the night and we didn't hear much or see much about you. And I feel like over the last couple of years, maybe with the Hall of Fame and then the Royal Rumble appearance, and even little things like you being in attendance in Atlanta in July, we didn't get that for like a decade or so. Is there a reason behind that?
Um, when I left wrestling, I had back surgery and I just kind of was tired of being on the road. I knew I wasn't, I was getting better in the ring, and I knew that I was going to come back and not be at full capacity. And I didn't want to hurt myself again. So that's kind of why I just decided to retire. And then for a long time, I kind of had mixed feelings about my time in wrestling because there was so much about it that I felt like was just, uh, you know, I don't know about embarrassing, but like I just felt yucky, thinking about it. And so I just kind of closed that door and just had no desire really to do much with it. I did signings here and there, but I just kind of wanted to like stay out of that world. It just felt like yucky. Um, and then when they called me back in, 2018, I think it was, for that first appearance, it was kind of like my, I guess, a test. And they welcomed me with open arms, and I just had such a great time meeting everybody and seeing how much it had changed from when I was there. And that's kind of why, I started doing more and more. But, for a while there, I just didn't even want to take anyone's calls, to be honest.
And so, were there opportunities that were potentially presented to you that you just ignored because you still felt that way?
I honestly don't know. I do know this guy, Mark Carano, who was in the head of talent relations for some time. There were a few phone calls that he had made that I didn't return. Um, Closer up, leading up to like 2016, 17. I don't know what they were for. Maybe they were just for a signing or something. Probably never know, but I wasn't ready yet to answer that call. But it wasn't really deliberate.
When you say that at the time, part of the reason why you closed that door is because you felt yucky about your career. I'm wondering if now in 2025, when you still look back on, the prime of your career, do you still feel the same way?
I don't. No, I think it took some time for me to step away and to be able to look at it from a different perspective and appreciate it for what it is. I just felt so attached to it for so long. And now I do cringe when I look at a lot of stuff. I'm not for real, but I also giggle. I see the entertainment value in it. It was a totally different era. And I was just, for a while, I just needed to step away and brush myself off and remember that Torrie is not the real Torrie. The real Torrie is me here, sitting here. Um, and I definitely see the value in it now, and I can chuckle over it, I can appreciate it, and I can also cringe over some of it.
Do you have regrets when you look back?
I no, I think I don't really have regrets in life. Even the things that I would really not remember, prefer not to remember, outside of wrestling, inside of wrestling, it's all a lesson. You know, I it, there are times that I look back and I think, gosh, it's so cringe. It's so like just the whole sex appeal stuff was so much. And at that age, I was really trying to come to terms with being this like sex symbol. I didn't feel like I was a sex symbol. I always felt like I was the biggest dork in the room. And my ex-husband used to always tell me that you're the biggest dork in the room. And so I never I felt like I was always just being a poser. But then on the flip side of that, it also brought out this part of me that became more confident in her sexuality. So there's just a lot of different dynamics at play.
It's interesting because I've heard you say in other interviews that you used to have tremendous anxiety before doing some stuff, right? In wrestling and especially putting yourself out there and whatnot. How did you eat? Like, it wasn't just I can understand a performer, a wrestler having anxiety before a big match, but you're out there, doing bikini contests and stuff like that. How does someone who having incredible anxiety even step through the curtain? How do you even allow yourself to perform in those moments when you're dealing with what seemed like, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, like crippling anxiety to do this in front of thousands of people and millions at home? How did you even process all of that?
It was, I kind of had to. I mean, I was there, like, there was a high to it when I came back through the curtain afterwards. But no matter what I was doing, whether I was in a bikini, being in a bikini was actually just as stressful as having a match for me. Just different types of stress because we've all had those nightmares where we wake up and we're in school and we're like naked or in our underwear. And I like lived that out, and people were critiquing every little imperfection. Thank God there was no cell phone coverage back then. But really, I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned from being in wrestling was that even if you're full of fear, if you just push through that and do it anyway, you can do it. And so many things in life, we all just feel the fear and we ignore it and we just push away. We go, turn around, don't do it. Um, the opportunity to be in the wrestling world came, out of just really luck for me. And I took that opportunity and kind of ran with it. And never in a million years did I think that I was going to end up being in front of all these crowds. But it became like this fun addiction and also this big fear. And, it's just like I was envisioned someone like right before I go through the curtain, someone's right there with their hand just shoving me out. And as soon as you go out, I learned that you either got to own it or you're going to be meek and look weird. And the fans are totally going to call you out on that. So you better just pretend like you know what you're doing and try to own it.
I want to go back to your entrance in a moment, but like I'm wondering if there was ever something that you said this is too much, like this is a bridge too far, because like I don't know what that line was. Clearly, looking back, like you were willing to be a team player and a company woman, but did you ever say, "I this one I can't do"?
Yeah, there was a couple times, one in particular, the Judgment Day pay-per-view bikini contest against Sable. Originally, Vince wanted me to do the hand paint on my boobs, like Sable had done in the past. And I didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I was like, how about rhinestones that barely cover my nipples? Don't ask me why. That felt a little more safe than the paint. But looking back, I see myself. I've only seen myself in a thong bikini a few times out in front of the crowd, and those times really do kind of make me cringe. Just seems like a lot, and then sometimes I, you can see kids in the crowd, and it just feels like this is wrong.
On Twitter, though, I feel like lately you have kind of leaned a little bit more into, your popularity and the nostalgia, surrounding those days. There's one tweet that we found. I don't know if you saw this. It has 52 million views. Do you know the one that I'm talking about?
Is it the Judgment Day one?
It's the one where it's like it's something like the streets won't forget, and you say that
Oh yeah, yeah,
this one right
yeah,
here, I'll never forget the
yeah.
streets. 52 million views on this. That's absurd. 40
I know it's crazy.
471,000 likes.
It's nuts. It really
What
is
does that
nuts.
feel like?
And this is the part of me that is like, I'm just embracing it. There was a long time, probably that 10 years, that I didn't really want anything to do with wrestling. Like, even if I saw something, my stomach would turn and I didn't want to see it. And now I've done a flip.
It's amazing. Well, I'm happy to hear that because no one wants to look back on the early days with any type of, I don't know, shame or regret or anything like that. You talked about, the fluke entrance, and I've heard you tell the story about Kevin Nash seeing you backstage. You're there with your boyfriend at the time. He's a big wrestling fan. You know nothing about wrestling. You see Kevin Nash, Rey Mysterio, you're taking pictures. He recognizes you from a magazine. And I would love to ask, like, how the hell did he recognize you from a magazine? Because you were just like a random person in a magazine. How closely was he looking at these magazines to recognize you? Because you weren't really a name, right, back then?
No, I had started to gain a little notoriety in the fitness world. I'd done some fitness contests and gotten on a couple fitness magazines covers. But the one that he saw me in, it was from I had a green bikini on and I was in a fitness contest. And this was like a picture towards the back of a magazine. And he's said it to me over and over. That's why I remember so vividly. But that's what he remembers seeing. And I know he's, super into fitness and the whole bodybuilding world. So I'm sure he saw those other fitness magazines. And, uh, you know, thankfully, he remembered me from that magazine.
And so when Hulk Hogan unfortunately passed away, you did mention that it was Kevin Nash and Hulk who kind of helped make you into a fixture at WCW. I hadn't heard the Hulk part of it. What did you mean by that when you said it?
So Kevin was kind of, I think, the one that really spearheaded it more. But Hulk did have a play in that because it was a storyline with them. And at the time, I had just moved to Los Angeles and I had gotten an agent, Peter Young, who happened to also be Hulk Hogan's agent. So
Hmm.
we had like a tie in there that uh, worked in my favor.
Okay. And when you're dropped into this world, it was only supposed to be like a 3-week thing, right? How do you go from 3 week to actually getting a full-time contract?
Yeah, it was supposed to, they just said it should be like a couple months gig. And at the time I was taking acting classes, doing the whole auditions and commercials and uh just excited to have a gig. And it really just snowballed so fast that you know, gosh, probably a month within by the time I was at the first pay-per-view, this was back when people could be at the airport waiting for you to get off the plane.
Oh, wow.
Like there was just a lot of people waiting for me to get off the plane and in the hotels. And it just kind of snowballed so fast that they ended up offering me a contract. And um, yeah, the rest is history.
Did you like it off the jump, or at first did you think this is a little bit weird?
Uh, you know, being a very shy girl growing up from Idaho, anything was just weird and scary. So there's that. But this world was definitely intimidating. Thankfully, I have three brothers, so that kind of prepared me a little bit for, just the backstage craziness. Um, but just it felt like being in a male locker room, walking around. I see Big Papa Pump, standing there. Everyone's just specimens, and it's very intimidating. And if you don't come from that world and you're not super outgoing, and you don't know the protocol to go introduce yourself and shake hands, which is a scary protocol if you're shy. um, you can get yourself off to the wrong foot, which I did a little bit, but quickly learned. um, yeah, so I think that I was at that place in life where I knew that I didn't want to have a regular job. I knew that. Like my husband makes fun of me all the time because I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I worked there for 3 weeks and then I quit because I couldn't stand the thought of sitting at a desk for the rest of my life." Um, so I knew that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry and I knew that I wanted to go for it. And when I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't have any one specific thing. I just thought like I'm going to try modeling, acting, whatever. I'm just going to try it all. And so I did have that dream. I didn't have it specific, and wrestling popped into my lap, and it was just like, okay, you said you wanted to be in the entertainment industry, so here you go.
That protocol that you talk about in saying like you had to learn about it, how did you learn? Like, in other words, did something happen, or did someone tell you like, hey, you really need to go up to everyone and shake their hand and say hello and introduce yourself?
Yeah, that was when I started working with Billy Kidman, who ended up later being my husband. He was the one that kind of filled me in because they put me as his girlfriend on the show, his valet. And he started, kind of, once he realized that I was just like in over my head, he started, helping me out.
The vibe in the WCW locker room towards the end, and I think maybe like towards the very end, you weren't around as much anymore. How would you describe like when it seemed like this might be a sinking ship, and you've heard about all these crazy stories about how there was all this drama in the rudderless ship and the money dry. Like, could you tell that the end was near? Could you tell that it was just this chaotic scene that was going to end?
And it did feel a little, I mean, I had only been there for like a year, so I didn't know what to really compare it to, but it did feel like a little like shit showish. Um, it did feel like some of the top wrestlers were the ones calling the shots. Um, like I giggle. I remember people talking about Buff Bagwell once saying they were going over a match and he was supposed to lose, and he said, "I don't mind losing, but my character shouldn't lose."
Incredible.
So like things like that, I think are funny when you look back. But I ended up they wanted me to take less money and do more shows. And I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing anyways. It was kind of, I was just floundering, right? I was there as a valet. So I was kind of ready to just walk away. And so that period, there was like a period of maybe 9 months or so where I wasn't with them at all before they got bought by WWE.
Do you think was there a point at that time where you were like, I'm done with wrestling? It was a nice little run here, but I'm doing something completely different now?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be it. I was like, okay, that gig lasted longer than I thought it would, and it's not for me. So when WWE started, you know, hiring people when they bought out WCW and they were taking meetings, Jim Ross took a meeting with me. At that time, I was dating Billy Kidman. And so he had a meeting with Jim Ross, and um, Jim asked if I was interested in meeting with him too.
And were you interested, or did you have to be convinced? Like, was there a part of you who's like, nah, I
No,
don't
I
want
was.
to? Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting because I didn't know anything about wrestling when I started in WCW, and then it was pretty easy to see quickly that WWF was the one you wanted to be at. It seemed like the much better show. So I knew that would be definitely a big step up if I could get hired there.
Was it on the spot? Like, what did they knew who you were? You were established. You were a name. You had success. Was it just a matter of, do you want to come in? We talk a little numbers, and now you're in, or was there some convincing involved?
There was no convincing. I think JR was taking meetings at a hotel in Tampa. And by the end of my meeting with him, he pretty much was like, the job's yours. If you want it, will send over a contract. And at that time, I had a lawyer go over it. So he didn't even have to talk the details with me.
I remember your debut because, again, if you're a Torrie Wilson fan at the time, you're like, all right, a lot of the WCW guys are coming in, but some aren't, and it felt like the bigger names weren't, at least initially, right? And so
Mhm.
you debut, and if my memory serves me correct, like you were kind of like a thread throughout the night, right? Like you kept popping up throughout the night, and it was the interactions with Vince McMahon. Did you like that when it was presented to you and the way in which it played out? When the night was over, you were like, okay, I liked the way they presented me. I liked the kind of intro I got to the WWE audience.
Absolutely. I loved it. I mean, they couldn't have given me a like more grand entrance. And yeah, the skits that we did backstage are hilarious. I wish they had high def back then so we could see them now like better. But everybody was so funny. Stone Cold and Kurt Angle were so funny in some of the skits we did. And it was obviously extremely intimidating. Working with Vince during your first day and kissing Vince first day.
What was that like? How did you handle that?
Ah, just like I always handled everything else, just felt someone push me on the back and, just do it. Um, Kissing Vince was interesting because Linda was standing right there,
Oh gosh.
um, kind of helping like navigate it all. So I don't know if that made me feel better or more weird. Um, but I was just really happy to have like a big role on TV then.
Speaking of anxiety and stuff like that, these are larger than life people in front of you now, right? I mean, some of the legends of the game. Internally, are you dying inside? Like, what is going on with the nerves?
Yeah, the nerves are like one thing about the nerves is once you kind of get going, they subside a little bit. So it's like the lead up is worse than the walkthrough. Um, but I think that from there, everything else seemed a little less intimidating unless I was out in front of the crowd. And the crowd's intimidating because you just never know what you're going to get. And they're not afraid to tell you when you've messed up.
Did you feel like you
But I
were
think this is part of the lesson, that I've learned early on is that that threads throughout my life. You can be scared and you can still do it.
Did you feel like you were a rookie again in the sense that you had to go up to everyone, shake your hand, and do all that locker room stuff all over again?
Oh, yes, you just reminded me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, no, it's funny because back then, you have all the people in WWE that are like probably wondering if they're going to have their job for much longer because this whole influx of
Right, right,
WCW
right.
people came in. So even more so, then I was just like extra nice to everybody and just wanted everyone to make sure that I, didn't think that I was better than anybody. And, I'd heard all these horror stories about some of the hazing that people have gotten. So it's just, just push through the shyness and make sure everybody knows you appreciate them and you're glad to be there.
Did you get any of that? Any of that hazing?
I didn't. No.
Never.
I mean, a little in the girls' locker room. A little. Deborah didn't like me.
Why not?
Um,
What's not to
I,
like?
you know, I think she thought I was I like after her guy,
Okay.
um, which I wasn't, but she seemed to think I was. So she didn't like me. Um, yeah, but I think it's more like just getting to know people. Like back then, the locker room wasn't super, cheery, nice when you came in. I think everybody was just a little more standoffish, and you had to prove yourself. And I remember Stacy and I would travel together and we would just like, it was kind of like we were almost like holding hands walking into that locker room and like, oh, here we go. Every day, every time we showed up, hoping we weren't going to do something wrong to piss anybody off.
Because correct me if I'm wrong. The women, you generally have your one locker room, right? So when you walk in there, did you feel like there was a divide between the old guard, if you will, and the new kids on the block?
You definitely felt like an iciness.
Okay.
Yeah. Like there was no like, hey, Torrie, like nobody was greeting each other like they were when I left the company. It was very like you walk in. Actually, now that I'm going down memory lane, I'm thinking of Lita too. She took a long while to warm up. I joke around with her sometimes about it because we did a pay-per-view poster together and we had to shoot this before a TV taping. So we went in early that day for the shoot. And I remember walking into the locker room to put my makeup on and I was like, hi, Lita. And she like didn't even say hi back.
Didn't even say hi
I tease
back.
her about it. No, she didn't. No, she didn't talk to me all day.
What?
But like, God love her. I love her to death now. We're young, it is what it is. I tease her about it. But she later, one time when I mentioned it to her later, she was like, I was mad that you got this thing with me.
Wow. So there was like a threatening feeling, right?
Probably so. Yeah. And maybe, who knows, like maybe I would have been that way if I was in their spot.
Right.
Probably not.
By the way, I'm a little ashamed to say I think it was a Survivor Series poster, right?
Yeah.
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 I looked that up, by the way. That didn't come off the top of my head, just for the record, just for everyone out there.
Oh, you did?
No, I didn't. I'm lying. I was just trying to save myself.
I was gonna say you're good.
Yeah, no,
You are good.
I,
I
rem-
know you're good.
I appreciate that. I remember that one. There was also a Great American Bash one back in the day where I remember you were featured on that, and on it goes. Do you think your character could fit in today's WWE, or if you walked into today's WWE, you would have had to be a completely different person?
Oh, I don't think I mean character or person.
Well, actually, person might be more interesting. Let's go with
I
person
mean
first.
person, like I love going there now. I love all of the women. I love just it just feels more relaxing. Everyone's more welcoming. Um, so I do love being around all those girls. They're all so sweet, great. Now, like just the thought of trying to uh, claw my way onto into a position on TV, like no, thank you. There's so many amazing women that are so gifted and talented that that, no, not for me. No, no, I could never compete with that.
Why do you think that there are less, for lack of a better word, valets in today's that was always a staple of wrestling, right? Dating back to the 80s, even the 70s. And I don't know if you even consider yourself as such, but I feel like you were more that than active competitor. Hopefully, you don't take that as an insult. Why do you think there's
Yeah, no,
less?
not a.
Why is there less of that today than back even in the early 2000s?
That's a good question. I mean, some people do it so well. Chelsea Green, I love her. I love her character. She is like just the epitome of someone that can kill it in the ring as a wrestler and then also kill it when she's a valet, kill it in backstage skits that are like literally she makes the most of every second she gets on TV. And she is the epitome of someone that would be just a great valet. Um, I do think that they could really add a whole layer in that makes things, interesting, but I don't know why they don't.
Scarlett is another one, maybe more of like the old school type, Karrion Kross's wife, who doesn't
Hmm.
really wrestle but is just there by his side. Reminds me of some of the characters from your era. Could you have? You did wrestle, but you weren't as active. And I know you've been asked about never winning the title, and you don't really care about that because it's all just someone's decision. So I won't even ask you about whether or not you care. But could you have been as active as the women are expected to be today? They're tremendous athletes today. They're all wrestlers. They all do their thing, and they're given the same type of respect and airtime for the most part as the men. Do you think you could have done that if you walked into this era?
I think I could have done that with training. The last probably 2 years that I was wrestling, maybe three, I wrestled a lot more and I was wrestling on house shows and then maybe not always TV, but at least 3 nights a week I was wrestling on the house shows. And I know my body was always hurting. I had mentioned to Kevin Owens once we were sitting on a plane next to each other and I was like, I don't know what it is. Like I feel like my body was just not like I was always hurting and like why did I have back surgery when I didn't wrestle nearly as much as some of the other people? And he was like, well, maybe it's because you weren't wrestling all the time. And so
Mm.
your body like never really got used to it. Every time it was like if you had like a lull, it was like you're like reprogramming your body to take to be rear-ended by a car, basically. That's what it is. Um, so I lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. Well, it's basically whether or not you would be successful and willing to do the schedule that they do
Yeah.
now and the bumps that they do
Yeah.
now. And you were,
I think their schedule is better now, isn't it?
yeah.
Do they not do house shows? Seems like they have a much better schedule. Um, But totally, like, I mean, when I was learning to wrestle, I was having fun learning to wrestle. And that's part of what played into when I had back surgery. Like, I didn't want to go back just to do like be a valet. I wanted to wrestle, but I just knew how I felt and I didn't want to put my body through that.
So regarding the back surgery, why did it seem like that happened and then you just never came back? Was that the plan when you went out and got the surgery?
It wasn't the plan. No, while I was at home, I thought about it and I was like, I just the pain that I was feeling so much leading up to that being frozen for sometimes like 30 minutes. I'd just sit there on the couch crying because I was so locked up. I just, the thought of putting my body through more of that had no appeal to me. I was fine, like hanging up everything I had. So that call came after I had been home for a while. I just called Johnny Ace at the time and said, could I have my release?
And did he say yes? Like just right away, or did he try to convince you?
Uh, I believe he tried to not convince me, but like we had a conversation. I don't know that he was trying to change my mind about anything, but it was more like, are you sure this is really what you want to do? Let me talk to Vince kind of
Right.
thing.
Was there ever an idea that you had, an angle, a storyline that you felt really passionately about, and pushed for it and pitched it and thought it would be great for you and your character, and it just never came to fruition, and you wish it did?
I honestly don't remember.
Were you the
I
type of
do
person to do
know.
that?
No, I did. Very rarely did I do that. And I wish I knew then what I know now. Because back then I was more of a people pleaser and didn't want to like rock the boat. So I was never the girl that was in the writer's ear or
Mm.
like trying to finagle my way into a better finish. And so that worked well for some people, but I never tried to do that. Um, and looking back, I kind of wish I would have done that more, but I was more of the thought like that's annoying, like I would be annoying to them. So I wish I would have just done that.
Okay. Um, I don't know if you heard, but Maven was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about his angle with you. He's become like a big YouTube star now. I don't know if you know this, but he's like the guy on YouTube. Did you know this?
Is he? No. What is
Oh,
he doing? What,
oh my gosh.
like a wrestling show?
No, he started a YouTube channel maybe 2 years ago, and he's just killing it. He's telling stories about the old days and nothing too, salacious or anything like that. But now he's even evolved into, he went to go see Buff Bagwell when unfortunately he had to have his leg amputated. Like he's doing like actual journalism. He went to go see RVD. He's just become infinitely more popular today than he was back in the Tough Enough and post Tough Enough days. And it's a great story. And
That's amazing.
he's very honest. And so, anyways, I was like, man, I got to say, like, I'm in college and I'm not talking to anyone. And you come into the WWE and you get a WWE contract and you win Tough Enough, and then you get an angle with Torrie Wilson off the bat. And he's like, oh my God, I was like, my mind was blowing. I had the biggest crush on her. This is what he's saying. And so he said he wanted to maybe down the line try to connect with you. What I wanted to ask was, how did you feel about that? Because he was sort of viewed as like, the reality show winner. When you were put in that story with him, did you feel like it was beneath you, or did you dig it?
Absolutely. I never thought anything was beneath me. I was just always appreciative to have a storyline or a spot, on TV. I always thought he was really nice. Like the thing about me, like having all these little on-screen hookups is that I also was either married to Billy Kidman or he was my boyfriend or fiance. So that part was always a little weird to me. Um, but outside of that feeling weird, I love Maven. He was awesome, super nice, down to earth, and not like jaded by the wrestling business.
Yeah, he actually has a video on his YouTube channel where he's talking to his wife about some of his more maybe embarrassing scenes, and she's reacting. She's never seen it. It's a great clip. And one of them is the interaction with you, and she's seeing you for the first time because I guess she's not a wrestling person. And he mentioned that I think you guys may have kissed, and Billy was there watching, and he was like, that was really awkward for him because you were married or together at the time. Do you remember any of this?
I remember when we kissed, and I do. Yes, I remember he was there. I think he was the one too, where like, we did a scene where he was in the hospital, and I was eating a banana,
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
and
yes.
I saw this on Instagram recently, and I had totally forgot about it, and I couldn't believe that I did that. Another one of those things you're like, oh my gosh, Tori,
Yes.
really?
A different time, a different era. That stuff wouldn't necessarily fly today.
No,
Did,
no.
the for me, a lot of people ask you about the angle with your dad, and that was great. But I always thought that the one with Tajiri was very interesting. It was a little bit different. Did you enjoy that one?
Yeah, he was so fun to work with. Like, I mean, every, he didn't speak a lot of English, but everyone always would say he knows much more English than he lets on. I don't know if that's true or not, but he was always very pleasant to work with. And then that dynamic between us, I thought was really cute and like light.
Recently, you celebrated your birthday not that long ago. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And it seems like you're very proud of where you are in life. It seems like you're very proud of your age and how things have turned out for you. Do you view yourself as someone? I told them not to post this because it does say your age, and I know we're not supposed to say a woman's age.
I don't care.
Okay, okay. Well, God bless. What I did say was,
I don't care.
I hope that I look like that when I'm 50. Not exactly like that, but like that, that healthy and fit when I'm 50. So God bless you. Well done. Do you
Thank
view
you.
yourself as some sort of inspiration to, obviously a lot of men were fans of yours, kids were all that stuff, but for women as well to be proud of their age and where they're at in life once you hit that number.
I mean, I hope to be. I don't know necessarily view myself as that, but I know what I love seeing, and I'm attracted to seeing women who embrace their age and then also are inspiring and don't slow down in the gym. They still embrace their sensual side and they're still them. I think in this world, there is a lot of ageism, and I think people kind of expect you to start shrinking away. And if that's what you want to do, fine. That's not what I want to do. And I think that it's important to yourself, and it's also important to the people that are watching you, especially if you're on a platform, to be authentically you and not let the world push you into shrinking away.
Very good message. And so, if you were an old school Torrie Wilson fan, or maybe a new school Torrie Wilson fan, or maybe a woman who is 50 who admires you and looks up to you and perhaps wants to follow more of your stuff, what is this passes thing that you're doing that I see you promoting? What exactly would someone be getting if they subscribe to this? Not that I have, just for the record. I wanted to get the pitch here. I wanted to get the pitch.
Yeah, passes has been really fun for me. It's a place where um, basically my fans want to follow me. It's where I kind of like unleash the beast. I'm a little more like open about being sexier. Like the interesting thing is social media. There are a lot of things that I could post, but then sometimes I don't because I'm like, oh, I don't want to be judged. Well, on passes, I can be sexier. There's a limit, there's boundaries there. It's nothing like OnlyFans, there's a lot of athletes on there. And it's kind of a place where you can create content that your fans want to see. And evidently, my fans still like the sexy content that I love making. So it's kind of been this weird, perfect marriage. My husband sometimes he just looks at me and he shakes his head and he's like, you're almost way too good at this. Like, this is so easy. It's not even working.
And so there it is. If you want to join and support, it's going well so far.
It's going great. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
having a ball.
And your husband's just like a regular dude, right? I don't mean regular dude. Like he's not from the wrestling world. So does he ever? He's just like he's just an average bloke, as they say.
He's an average bloke. He's in the media industry, but more like golf and sports. And he works for Peacock. And it's interesting because he watched wrestling as a little kid. And then when we connected, well, when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, he kind of started watching wrestling more. And now he's become this like crazy wrestling fan. And we've got it on every Monday and Friday in the house.
Wow.
Sometimes I'm like, I can't watch it tonight, but he's kept me up to date because he's been so into it.
Wow.
And now we go when I do like signings at WrestleMania, he's like, "Oh, we got to go to the show." He's all about it.
When you met, did he know who you were?
He No, we met through a mutual friend, so like he got the lowdown, but he hadn't watched wrestling in a long time.
You believe him? I have a hard time believing that. If he's a hardcore wrestling fan, how does he know who you are? He probably tried to
I
play it
mean,
cool.
he wasn't though. He wasn't. He maybe, yeah, maybe I don't know. But he watched wrestling when he was maybe like 5 years old and hadn't since.
Okay, and now has gone more
But
into
who
it.
knows? Maybe
And you're comfortable
now he's
watching it.
really into it.
You're not. You don't feel weird watching it or anything like that. This is now a good
Right.
thing for
I
you.
don't get like that. Like, right. Yeah. It's fun now. It's fun. It feels a lot lighter. I love watching the women are just, they're kicking ass and it's so cool to see. Uh, yeah, it's just such a good product. And the wrestling is so big now, bigger than ever,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yes. And I'll let you go in a moment. I promise. I do wonder if that wound, getting into the Hall of Fame, did the wound heal up? Was that the moment? Did that help getting that recognition? That's bigger than getting a belt or anything like that. To be respected and honored like that.
I definitely think it's bigger than any belt they could have ever given me. I honestly I never considered the fact that I might be in the Hall of Fame, never even put that into my radar. But when they did call me, I appreciated so much like what that meant. All of a sudden I realized like, wow, this is them actually saying thank you for all the shit you did and all the time that you were on the road and what you put your body through. Like just that thank you meant so much more to me than I ever realized would.
Were you nervous giving the speech?
Oh, hell yeah, of course. I'm nervous doing anything in front of a crowd.
Okay. But are you proud of the speech?
Absolutely, yes.
Uh,
I
the,
worked on it for a long time.
the puberty line is legendary. Did you come up with that?
I did.
It was a great one.
I mean, I hear it all the time. So,
But legit, people come up to you and say thanks for helping me during that period. Like, how does someone actually say that to you?
like at signings, I mean, I don't do a lot of signings anymore, but during that time, especially, like they would say, like you're a part of my puberty.
Wow, that is
And now it's a even bigger thing to say because I said it in my speech. So
okay.
now they feel okay saying it.
Yeah. Prior to that, maybe a little weird, if I'm being 100% honest.
No, but that's why it was in my speech because I had heard it so much.
Unbelievable. Well, kudos to those people. If someone wanted to go back, who's maybe a newer fan, like, what is your high moment? What are you most proud of in your career? What's the one that you would say to people to go check out?
Oh, golly. My Hall of Fame speech.
At the end, it can't be that.
I don't know. I don't really keep track of anything like that. Like I see things on Instagram like, oh, okay, I was actually a little decent in that match, but I could never I don't have things memorized. I couldn't tell you what match was
No, I'm just saying what
when.
you're proudest of, like what you thought was the
Um,
apex of your career.
I am proudest of how much better I got in the ring towards the end. I was just starting to feel like I was understanding it a little bit better. I did feel like I was getting more comfortable when I was out there. I wasn't like completely nervous the whole entire time. I was beginning to, I was at that point where I wasn't like a deer in headlights. If I messed up, like I was starting to understand what it meant to kind of go with the crowd on things. Um, but I mean, I still feel like I was like thousands of miles away from where my potential was. But that would be where I'm most proud was, getting better in the ring. Anything before that, like anything bikini related, not necessarily proud, but it is what it is. It's funny and entertainment. But yeah.
Part of your story, and what a legendary story it was. I hope that you are proud. I hope that you look back on all those years with great fondness. Thanks for all the great entertainment, and I think from afar, what drew people to you, what drew fans to you, was that you seemed very relatable. You seemed like you weren't above anyone, that you weren't larger than life in that sense. You were kind of just like a regular person, and even though you were on the biggest platform and biggest stage, you had this demeanor that made you seem like you were somewhat relatable, if you get what I'm saying. And I think that was part of your
That's
charm.
actually the best compliment. Thank
Okay.
you.
So much respect, much love to you. Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you to
Thank
Natalia
you.
Neidhart for helping me find you, because I've tried. I've sent you a few messages on Instagram, never been read, probably blocked by now, but she hooked me up with your email address.
No.
So I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Natty. You're the best. And most importantly, thank you so
Yeah.
much for the time. Really, really
Thank
appreciate it. And
you.
congrats on an incredible career.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right, there she is, the one and only Torrie Wilson on the program, who we can now cross off the list. What a time, what a day, what a pleasure, and hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way, and while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.